Chapter 2 of Lord of the Flies starts out with, Ralph in a meeting after the boys come back from the top of the mountain. Um, Ralph is holding a meeting and they talk about how the boys are definitely on an island and how it's uninhabited and kind of the signs of life. And then Ralph has one idea. And he says, we need to build a fire so that if there are any ships that come by, we can have smoke to signal to them. And every single kid in the group thinks that that's a great idea. Um, One thing that you should know is during this initial fire meeting, the boys, uh, what is it? They do establish rules. They establish that whoever holds the conch is supposed to be talking and nobody else should interrupt him. Um, And that's really an important concept to the rest of the book because you have the character Jack who basically doesn't respect this rule. And at least in this paragraph, really becomes more of a bully towards Piggy. And almost begin, and some of the details uh, about the way Jack acts during meetings and when Ralph is interacting with the group at large kind of suggests the foreshadowing of a power struggle between the two. Um, at this meeting, the boys have their final realization that they need to take care of themselves and that they are indeed cut off from society. Um, and this is kind of a strong moment because it is really where, in earnest, the boys kind of cut themselves from the idea that anybody can help them right now. And they establish for themselves that it's time to kind of sack up and uh, start working on taking care of themselves. Uh, they say that they're going to start making rules and stuff, and Jack is very excited. It's noted in the book. He's very excited about this prospect, and I think it's because he thinks he'll be making a lot of the rules, or at least enforcing them, um, which goes further. And this chapter will further kind of uh, support my idea from the last video, where Jack, Ralph, and Piggy represent three different kind of management or leadership styles, and this is the beginning of Jack's kind of turn towards, or obvious kind of turn towards a militaristic kind of way of leading. In this chapter, Piggy is really kind of identified as the realist of the group. When when the three boys come down from the top of the mountain and hold their meeting, literally everybody everybody runs off very fast to go start a fire at the top of the mountain. And Piggy comments on this, calling them, telling Ralph, who stayed behind because he was confused by the chaos of everybody leaving. He was trying to get everybody's attention before they left. Ralph, he tells Ralph that they're acting like children, and then says again that they're acting like children after Ralph leaves. He says it to himself. It is revealed that the plane was shot down, or at least the characters believe that the plane was shot down, and an introduction for a character that's more important later in the chapter is introduced. He is never named, but he is described as a 6-year-old skinny little boy who has a birthmark on his face. I can't remember the detail. It was weird. It's a birthmark, so it's probably brown. They talk about this little boy is pushed up by the rest of the 6-year-olds and the younger boys on the island because he says he saw a large snake, and this kind of represents the first challenge for Ralph, because the boy is telling of how he saw a massive snake thing in the dark in the forest. And the boy and Ralph is just taken aback. He doesn't believe in monsters, and all the older kids don't believe in monsters either, but the younger ones do. Um, and for some reason, Ralph immediately kind of takes from the boy's description of where he saw the snake that he was dreaming when he saw the snake. And so it is written off as a nightmare and not attended to really for the rest of the chapter. Uh, One thing is Jack does say, and this is kind of where Jack almost comes in as like a better alternative to Ralph, is Ralph stays on the point of there is no such thing as this snake beast, whereas Jack is kind of bored with that conversation at this point on whether or not it's real and kind of wants to move on. He says that he'll hunt it even uh, if they find it, they'll kill it to reassure the children that um, their concerns are to validate the children's concerns, really. Um, and then, yeah, they kind of move on to the island, to the fire deal. The boys spend a lot of time collecting dry wood over this period of collecting the wood for the fire. Jack and Ralph have kind of a bonding moment, which kind of contradicts the power struggle uh, idea that's given in the beginning of the chapter. Um, but, it is definitely kind of indicative of the old saying, like, two is a party, three is a crowd, or the saying that if there's, or not a saying, but I remember once there's an understanding that if you have three people, two of those three people will get along better than those three people will get along together, all together, right? And so those two that get along better than uh, the the one on the outside uh, does with either of them is usually treated poorly. And this is kind of shown in Ralph and Jack's treatment of Piggy, who, although has kind of established himself as somewhat of a leader, if not kind of a right hand man to Ralph. Um, this is further shown by, what is it, Ralph not openly supporting Piggy and being absent minded while Piggy is being targeted, as well as Jack being blatantly abusive. Uh, I may be reaching with abusive. He is being extremely aggressive in the way that he talks to Piggy, at least in this chapter. He is constantly telling Piggy to shut up and giving him glares and things like that. Um, Piggy was not present during the building of the fire. This isn't a super important note. Jack does bring it up when they're talking about the conch and like doing things right, because Jack points out that Piggy didn't help with the fire, and Piggy says, "Yeah, but I brought the conch, and you used my glasses to start the fire." Jack also tries to differentiate the areas of control where there are rules, despite saying twice in this chapter that he is pro rule. He says that the conch, it doesn't matter where the conch is, the meeting place is down on the beach, which is later overruled by Ralph, who is really the main, as well, the chief and main legislator. He is actually kind of, what is it, dictated all the laws that the boys will be governed by, uh, which I think also adds to kind of the lack of respect that Jack has for the rules and the other boys who have consistently kind of broken that rule. It is the first day and introduction of that rule, to be fair, but I think that if you have things that are just spoken and you have these people that are closer to peers than actual leaders, you have like this lack of respect. And so it's really, they just tell you what to do and you listen to it or you don't. So it's kind of weak. Um, Piggy fell victim at the top of the mountain to the entirety of the group. They wanted, Piggy came up And the boys immediately asked him, "Do you have any matches?" Because none of them knew how to start a fire with just wood and like string. And he didn't, but Jack had the idea, or I think Jack had the idea. Yeah, either Jack, Ralph, or Roger had the idea of taking Piggy's glasses and using them to start a fire. So Ralph steals Piggy's glasses, pushes him to the side, starts the fire, and then gives them back. The fire explodes basically, burning extremely fast and not giving off a lot of smoke because of all the dry wood. Um, Piggy kind of sits out while the other boys go run up and down the mountain to keep the fire burning as the sun sets. After the boys get tired of doing that, they're all sitting around at the top of the mountain, and Piggy feels it's his time to shine. He offers the group this huge reprimand that they're acting like children, that they're not respecting the rules. People are telling him to shut up while he's delivering this monologue and discrediting him. And at one point, he gets to the part about the fire. He talks about how the first thing they should have done was get everybody's name. Like everybody should have known everybody's name. Ralph's rebuttal to that is, "I told you to do that." And Piggy said, "I couldn't have done that because we only had one meeting, and after you guys left, everybody ran away. Like everybody scattered. I couldn't keep track of this group of people because we're not organized." And so there's only been 2 meetings at this point, not enough time to get a good head count. Piggy brings that up, that they don't have a head count. He brings up the fact that um, the fire that the boys started accidentally set the rest of the jungle on fire, or the rest of the island on fire. And so now there's a huge jungle fire just burning through the, what is it, the island. And uh, Piggy looks down at that and he says, "Look at what you have done. You guys have just burned all of this usable wood that we could have used for fires. You've uh, kind of ruined this area for, what is it, getting like fruit or getting food in general, as well as kind of exploring it. Now it's a dangerous place." And so Piggy comes and shows them that, and that their actions have been also impulsive and reactionary. Not more impulsive than reactionary. I think reactionary might be the wrong word. Uh, but yeah, his big thing is, you. How do you expect to be rescued, and how do you expect to survive on this island if you can't get your priorities straight, right? And his entire monologue is ended in an argument with Ralph about the head counts. It evolves from them arguing about who should have done the head count and if there was enough time, or who's responsible for all these people. Ralph is continuously blaming Piggy for not have done, or not continuously. He blames Piggy for not have doing the job that was assigned to him. And Piggy points out that the boy with the birthmark on his face from earlier, who had the nightmare about the snake, is missing. And so what do? They look at the fire and they're like, "Oh shit, we just sent a huge portion of the jungle on fire, and one of us is missing." So they kind of assume that he dies in the fire, and that's how the chapter ends. Um, Piggy throughout this is shown, I don't know if I already kind of commented on this, but he is shown to be the most mature of the group in this chapter, while also being the weakest of the group. He is a constant target from Jack and is not respected by Ralph or the rest of the group. So the two main leaders, Ralph and Jack, don't respect him, and Jack is particularly aggressive towards him. And Ralph doesn't support him very much, and so neither will the group. This builds kind of a frustration within my head as I read the book. It's kind of like, well, these kids are being dumb, for lack of a better word, and they're kind of taking like a huge deuce on this one kid who really is the one who has his priorities in order, is pointing out that the kids need shelter on the beach and that it's warm enough to sleep on the beach and that that's what they should have done first. He obviously knows what should be a priority, and he, in my opinion, should be one of the leaders, if not the main leader of the group. Just because, you know, he's got the good ideas, but you know, there wouldn't be conflict if the leader of the protagonist group did everything right. There wouldn't be any suspense or any drama. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you had any thoughts, feel free to comment them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.